Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So, Christmas is coming up. I know that a lot of us have a lot of Christmas shopping to do, and why not just make something for, the people that you have to buy things for instead of paying extra money to make something that they might not even like. So, I know that a lot of friends and family of mine actually really like personalized gifts more than, just like a generic like lotion or whatever that you just get kind of everyone when you don't know what to get them. So I wanted to show you a couple of DIY Christmas gifts that you can make at home. Especially if you're watching this channel, you should definitely probably have at least some of these supplies. Before we get going, I just want to say a huge thank you for watching this video. If you would, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and go and follow me on Instagram. My art Insta is Art with Ari. When I first thought of this idea, I had 3 different things in mind. Very, very simple, very like normal artist things, and then I was putting up Christmas decorations and I saw one more that I thought would be perfect. So there is a bonus Christmas DIY paint thing in here. So you're welcome. And let's go. So first I'm going to gather up some of my material. I am going to be using these wood pieces and watercolor paper. And then I just did some really quick sketches. The penguin, a little deer, that's a cup of cocoa, a snowflake, and then a tree. So on the wood pieces, you do have to use gesso or that wood is just going to soak up the paint just super quick. So you want to put a really big thick layer of gesso on each part. You'll see that I'm not actually filling in the complete piece of wood. I'm just filling in where that image is going to be, and just because I really liked the wood grain and I wanted that to stick out. For this snowflake, I didn't do all of like the little details just because there's so many and some details can be like hidden more than others, so I was not worried about that. Okay, so now on to the painting. I started off with this snowflake. I gathered some different blues and whites. I'm looking at a reference photo here, and I just wanted to make it, pretty simple with it also being detailed. So I stuck with those 3 colors just to get like the dark values, the middle tones, and then obviously the pure white areas. And I'm gonna just start with like the darkest color and then work my way up to the lightest. Now I'm going to be moving on to my cup of cocoa. I'm just basically defining the shadows in the cup first. And then I'm going to go in and define, the light pieces. Now the fun part. Okay, so it's really important that you keep your paint, as wet as possible if you do decide to do a piece like this. You want the colors to kind of blend but not fully blend, so you kind of just like throw on chunks of paint and then like let them merge a little bit but not fully merge. And then for the bubbles, I did use this like little tiny like dotting tool that I had, and you'll see that shortly where I'm just dipping into the super dark brown and creating the bubbles with that, and then I'll be adding highlights later so it doesn't just look like little black bobs. So here are the highlights. I really like how this turned out. I wasn't quite sure if it was gonna, be very good, but I liked it. So for this tree, I did like a really rough background before, then I started adding these little smushes of paint basically just for details. And then I go between, this pretty middle toned green, and then I created that really dark bluish green for that center, and then this really light neon green is for the lighter parts, but also I put some in the middle just to represent like where the leaves would hit for the light bulbs that I put on later. And then I started making these little Christmas ornaments, and I started using like a bigger dot tool. I just didn't like how it was going, and then I added some shadows, and then I made this really light yellow color. When making these like strands of lights, I definitely try to keep all of the lights in a row. Now for the deer, this definitely took the longest. I threw down just like a base layer of brown before I added shadows and highlights and all that jazz. So when I was making this deer, it was basically layer upon layer upon layer. One part would look good when it was wet, and then it would dry, and I'm like, oh man, that could use a little bit more shadow or a little bit more highlight. So that is why this took so long. I added something pretty cool, at least in my head. I wanted the deer not to just be like this brown color, but I wanted to add like a hint of purple in there. So I did end up mixing this really pretty purple that you will see in a second, and added that to just like random parts of the fur where I thought that it would look pretty cool. There it is. I love that purple. But it was nice because it almost looked like the reflection of like the snow a little bit, where if you look at snow, it's not always perfectly white. Sometimes it does reflect some unique colors. Yeah, I really apologize for my head getting in the way. All the little details, I was like, I have to see them really closely, so my head definitely got in the shot a few times. While the deer is drying, I'm going to be working on the background. I just added these really pretty baby blue trees in the background just to, make it look all wintry. And then some dimension to the trees, and then I mix, those colors and blend it in pretty well. Then I added the details to my deer, just little tiny things here and there, just to make it look more realistic than it was. And then my husband said that it looked like a football with a deer on it, so I had to add a different tree. I added one towards the back. So now watercolor. I love, 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 love watercolor. Now you'll see that, this penguin, its belly is, it looks pretty white, but I did add like a slightly tan color to it. And you'll see at the end, it looks very, very white after. I don't like keeping things purely white unless it's like the highlights on the eyes or something like that, just because I don't think that looks, it's not really realistic, because a lot of colors bounce off of white surfaces. And so if you look at a white surface in a photo, most of the time it's not actually going to be pure white. There's going to be different tones and colors in there. So this image I'm actually going to be making into a digital piece as well. I'm just going to scan it, do some like refining of like the colors and all that, and make it for like a downloaded copy, just because I really love how it turned out in the end. This little guy's so like spunky and curious, and he's just super cute. And you can see the progression of like my desk messiness as like I'm going along, because I did most of these paintings in one day. So that paper in like the background is to protect my desk, obviously, but I'll like randomly like test colors on it, or I'll like wipe paint off or whatever, and like by the end of this whole video process, that paper was like pretty, it had a bunch of like marks as well. And then the penguin had these cute little tiny white dots all over its face. Yeah, this penguin's really cute. I will say the one thing that bugged me is that you can see on the corner that like my pencil marks are still like showing through, which is kind of annoying. But if I really wanted to fix it, I could just like throw on a background and make it look all better. So I wanted to add like an icy blue floor, and then just like have him standing on this like almost like frozen lake area. So now this, I know this is an extra one, but my mom just got recently married this past year, so I'm going to make her an ornament. So I'm just throwing a bunch of paint in there, swirling it around, and the paint was actually thicker than I thought. So I threw in some alcohol just to kind of loosen up that paint a little bit more, swirled it around, and then I hung it upside down over a jar. And then this will let all of that extra paint flow out. Now that it is pretty much done, there was that spot that didn't have a lot of paint. So I'm using this marker, and this is what I'm going to label it with. And then I decided to change the date. I wanted to actually put their wedding date instead of just the established date. So those were the 4 different Christmas gifts slash decorations slash whatever that I really hope that you guys liked. It was quite a joy to make them, and I'm excited to give them away this year. A little tip for you guys: if you are not wanting to wrap your gifts and you just want to put them in like gift bags, if you have like these small pieces like this, if you just go to your local dollar store, my local dollar store was selling 2 gift bags for $1, and they're actually pretty cute, and that's what I'm going to be using this year. So yeah, that's a little tidbit for you. But I hope you liked this video. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe. Follow me on Insta, and I will see you next week. See ya!